Hello, welcome back. Welcome back. I'm an old YouTuber. Let's get started to read more Wikipedia, PDF about computer and more. But I have to use my old Canon because this JVC that's old too, but it's 3 years old. I maybe like to build some Lego. I like to build some Lego later. So this Canon camcorder is 10 years old. I got to the Pentium M. That's a Pentium for mobile computer, but that's what we call a laptop computer, mobile. But that could be a mobile notepad. A mobile computer you can carry around in a bag. So I have to use this 10 years old Canon, but it can still record text very clear. So and maybe I need the power on my JVC camcorder later today. Maybe or maybe not, I don't know yet, but it's only 11:30. It's 11:30 am. We can read, I need some power to read Danish comics like the Tarzan. I use my other JVC camcorder. So this I can read in the long winter. All this Danish comics. And it's not even 12 noon, so I'll maybe do that later. But I just download a fresh copy of this one, Pentium M. So I finished reading about the Pentium Pro, Pentium 3, 2, 3, 4. Then the Pentium M. Multi-core processor and Pentium D and Pentium dual core. Then we have this list of Pentium processors, but that's a long list of weird names. Maybe not do that. I'm not sure about that. Then Intel Core 2 and the Intel Core Windows 10. And I don't know how much. Then there was my Joy reading, Lockheed Martin, the Blackbird SR and all of the F fighter jets. I don't know, but we have more PDF there. Supercomputers, so, but that's some reading lists I have on top of my normal reading list there. I'm not sure what I'm doing, but let's just continue some days, but maybe not the whole day. So, but let's just do it, let's get started. So, but probably, yes, I will think about what to do. Could move it a little bit closer. Could raise it a little bit higher. Yes, now it's not level at all. Yes, that's fine. So I need half a minute to do myself ready. Oh, that's 5 pages. We can maybe do it one part video. Read loud, activate, read to end of documents.
Pentium M. Pentium M.jpg. Original logo, 2003 to 2006. General information launched March 12, 2003, discontinued July 14, 2009. 1. Common manufacturer, S. Intel. Performance max. CPU clock rate 900 MHz to 2.26 GHz FSB speeds 400 mount /S to 533 mount /S architecture and classification technology node 130 nm to 19 microarchitecture 6 variant instruction set x86 MMX SSE 2 physical specifications cores 1 socket S socket 479 products models variants core name S Banias Dutton history predecessor Intel Pentium 3. The Pentium M is a family of mobile 32-bit single-core x86 microprocessors, with the modified Intel 6P microarchitecture, introduced in March 2003 and forming a part of the Intel Carmel notebook platform under the then-new Centrino brand. 2. The Pentium M processors had a maximum thermal design power, TDP, of 527W depending on the model, and were intended for use in laptops, thus the M suffix standing for mobile. Evolved from the core of the last Pentium 3 branded CPU within the front side bus, FSB, interface of Pentium 4, an improved instruction decoding and issuing front-end, improved branch prediction, SSE2 support, and a much larger cache. First Pentium M branded CPU, codenamed Banias, was followed by Dutton. 3. The Pentium M line was removed from the official price lists in July 2009, when the Pentium M branded processors were succeeded by the Core branded dual-core Mobile Yona CPU with a modified microarchitecture. It replaced the mobile Pentium 4 processor, which suffered from power consumption and heat problems. Contents. Overview. Banias. Dutton. Intel 100 series. Core Solo and Core Duo. See also. References. External links. Overview. The Pentium M represented a new and radical departure for Intel as it was not a low-power version of the desktop-oriented Pentium 4, but instead a heavily modified version of the Pentium II in design, itself based on the Pentium 2 core design which in turn had been a heavily improved evolution of the Pentium Pro. It is optimized for power efficiency, a vital characteristic for extending notebook computer battery life. Running with very low average power consumption and much lower heat output than desktop processors, the Pentium M runs at Intel Pentium 4 successor Intel Core Duo Yona Steely microprocessor. A lower clock speed than the laptop version of the Pentium 4, the Pentium 4 Mobile, or P4M, but with similar performance. A 1.6 GHz Pentium M can typically attain or even surpass the performance of a 2.4 GHz Pentium 4M. 4. The Pentium M740 has been tested to perform up to approximately 7,400 MIPS and 3.9 flops, using SSE2. 5. The Pentium M coupled the execution core of the Pentium 3 with a Pentium 4 compatible bus interface and improved instruction decoding /issuing front-end, improved branch prediction, SSE2 support, and a much larger cache. The usually power-hungry secondary cache uses an access method which only switches and the portion being accessed. The main intention behind the large cache was to keep a decent-sized portion of it still available to the processor even when most of the L2 cache was switched off, but its size led to a welcome improvement in performance. Other power-saving methods include dynamically variable clock frequency and core voltage, allowing the Pentium M to throttle clock speed when the system is idle in order to conserve energy, using the Speed Step 3 technology, which has more sleep stages than previous versions of Speed Step. With this technology, a 1.6 GHz Pentium M can effectively throttle to clock speeds of 600 MHz, 800 MHz, 1000 MHz, 1200 MHz, 1400 MHz and 1600 MHz. These intermediate clock states allow the CPU to better throttle clock speed to suit conditions. The power requirements of the Pentium M varies from 5 watts when idle to 27 watts at full load. This is useful to notebook manufacturers as it allows them to include the Pentium into smaller notebooks. Although Intel marketed the Pentium M exclusively as a mobile product, motherboard manufacturers such as Open, DFI and MSI shipped Pentium M compatible boards designed to non-mobile enthusiasts' HTPC, workstation and server applications. An adapter, the CT479, was developed by ASUS to allow use of Pentium M processors in selected ASUS motherboards designed for socket 478 Pentium 4 processors. Shuttle Incorporated offered packaged Pentium M desktops, marketed for low energy consumption and minimal cooling system noise. Pentium M processors are also of interest to embedded systems manufacturers because the low power consumption of the Pentium M allows the design of fanless and miniaturized embedded PCs. The Pentium M also responds very well to undervolting, which can be done with the program Notebook Hardware Control or mclock. Intel Pentium M Processor Family 2003-2006 Logo 2006-2008 Logo Laptop Codename Process Date Released Original Pentium M Logo Pentium M Logo as of 2006 Banias Dutton, 130 nm, 90 nm, March 2003 June 2004 List of Intel Pentium M processors. Banias. As the M line was originally designed in Israel, 6. The first Pentium M was identified by the codename Banias, named after an ancient site in the Golan Heights. The Intel Haifa team had previously been working on the memory controller for Timna, which was based on earlier 6P memory controller designs. Pentium M 1.4 with Banias core backside of a Pentium M 1.4 giving them detailed knowledge of P6 architecture which they used when Intel gave them a crash project to create a backup mobile CPU. 7. Given the product code 80535, it initially had no model number suffix. Butte was later identified as the Pentium M705. It was manufactured on a 113 process, was released at frequencies from 900 MHz to 1.7 GHz using a 400 mount /SFSB, and had 1 MB of level 2 cache. The core average TDP, thermal design power, is 24.5 watts. The Banias family processors internally support physical address extension, PAE, but do not show the PAE support flag in their CPUID information. This causes some operating systems, primarily Linux distributions, to refuse to boot on such processors since PAE support is required in their kernels. 8. Using the Linux boot option will allow Linux to boot using PAE in these cases. Windows 8 and later won't boot on these CPUs for the same reason, emitting an error with code 0xC0000260 when attempting to load mtoscan.exe early on in the boot process. 9. Dutton Pentium M630 core Dutton. On the 17th of September, 2003, Intel unveiled plans for releasing the next generation of Pentium M processors, codenamed Dutton Botham. It was named after another ancient town in Israel, and it launched formally on the 10th of May, 2004. Dutton Pentium M processors, product code 80536. CPUID 0x6DX, are among the first Intel processors to be identified using a processor number rather than a clock speed rating. The initial Dutton versions with the 400 MHz front side bus, FSB, are known as Pentium M710, 1.4 GHz, 715, 1.5 GHz, 725, 1.6 GHz, 735, 1.7 GHz, 745, 1.8 GHz, 755, 2.0 GHz, and 765, 2.1 GHz. 10, 11. These initial Dutton models all have a TDP of 21W and a 2 MB L2 cache. These 700 series Dutton Pentium M processors retain the same basic design as the original Banier's Pentium M, but are manufactured on a 90nm process, with twice the secondary cache. Die size, at 87mm 2, remains in the same neighborhood as the original Pentium M, even though the 1000 series contains approximately 140 million transistors, most of which make up the 2 MB cache. TDP is also down to 21 watts with the 400 mount/SFSB, from 24.5 watts in Banier's, though power use at lower clock speeds has increased highly. However, tests conducted by third-party hardware review sites show that Banier's and Dutton-equipped notebooks have roughly equivalent battery life. Additionally, third-party hardware review sites have benchmarked the Dutton at approx 10 to 20% better performance than the Banier's in most situations. Pentium M730 core Dutton backside revisions of the Dutton core were released in the first quarter of 2005 with the Sonoma chipsets and supported a 533 mount/SFS band XD, Intel's name for the NX bit, and the PAE support flag in THCBUID was enabled, unlike earlier Pentium MS that showed PAE unavailable. These revised Dutton processors include the 730, 1.6 GHz, 740, 1.73 GHz, 750, 1.86 GHz, 760, 2.0 GHz, 770, 2.13 GHz, and 780, 2.26 GHz. And have a TDP of 27W and a 2 MB L2 cache. In July 2005, Intel released the 780, 2.26 GHz, and the low-voltage 778, 1.60 GHz. The processor line had models running at clock speeds from 1.0 GHz to 2.26 GHz as of July 2005. The models with lower frequencies were either low voltage or ultra-low voltage CPUs designed for improved battery life and reduced heat output. The 718, 1.3 GHz, 738, 1.4 GHz, and 758, 1.5 GHz models are low voltage, 1.116V, with a TDP of 10W, while the 723, 1.0 GHz, 733, 1.1 GHz, and 753, 1.2 GHz models are ultra-low voltage, 0.940V, with a TDP of 5W. Intel 100 series. An ultra-low power microprocessor based on the Dutton built on a 90nm process with 512 KB L2 cache and 400 mount/S front side bus, FSB. Core Solo and Core Duo. The next generation of processors, codenamed Yona, were based on the enhanced Pentium architecture, and released under the Intel Core brand, as Core Duo and Core Solo. See also 6P, microarchitecture. Centrino. List of Intel Pentium M processors. List of Macintosh models grouped by CPU type. References.
Good. So that was last edit many days ago, like 1 month ago, but I did just download a fresh copy. So the video splits, so I will close this Pentium M and I will take it out there, but I need a pen. My pen is gone. Now the paper drops. Let's take the pen from there. Okay, it's out there. Because when I buy this, my project, personally Computer History Museum, some of these computers are Pentium D or Pentium dual core. So this is why I did. This is Intel Core i5, the first generation. But this is a Pentium D, I think. I don't think it's a Pentium 4. So I will just continue. I will continue this, but I think take a small break and start to upload this, because that's like 2 weeks ago I uploaded last time. So I will start do that.